podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Stat Me Up for Anfield Index. It's just one of those ones, isn't it, ladies and gents? Stats, is that's what we talk about, and after Liverpool missed approximately 67 million chances against Manchester United, they come away with a 2-2 draw. We'll talk about the coming games. We're going to say it's a massive week, but they're all massive weeks now, aren't we? We've got Europe. We've got Crystal Palace. We'll be talking about things off the field as well. So I'm joined as ever by Ben Bocksak. Ben, how are we?
Like I said at the start of, when we started this conversation, I am a glass half full kind of guy. So, Liverpool are still level on points. At the top of the Premier League, obviously, Arsenal are top on goal difference, but as long as Liverpool are level on points and there's still 7 games left to be played, I think there's going to be plenty of twists and turns until the end of the season, and I'm optimistic. I don't think that was a sort of the final nail in the coffin for Liverpool. I think, as long as we concentrate and focus on ourselves, we can still win this league title and get that special fairy tale ending with Jurgen Klopp leaving.
I do hope so, Ben, although you might be preaching to a tough crowd today, we'll have to say. I mean, let's rewind back to 24 hours to, this one too. Christ knows how this ended 2-2, especially when Luis Diaz puts us ahead. And all of a sudden, in the second half, we find ourselves 2-1 down. Mo Salah makes it 2-2 with a penalty. Even now, 24 hours later, I know exactly how I feel. What are your overall sort of thoughts, your take on the game?
To be honest, I'm relieved we got a point in the end. You know what I mean? Just because I was thinking, this is just going to be a repeat of the FA Cup game, and we're going to come away not even getting a point, even though we deserve to win. So for me, I was just glad to get that point, because you never know, that point could make a massive difference in the title race. Obviously, the other 2 points which we didn't get could also make a huge difference, and I'm not objecting to that, but I do think it was important to at least get that draw and get that penalty. To be honest with you, I don't know if it was a penalty. I think Harvey Elliott definitely sort of played or made advantage of the contact made. We've obviously seen a lot worse given in the Premier League this season, so we won't complain too much about getting it, because we've had some horrendous decisions against us. But I do think when I saw it in the replay, I was shocked that VAR didn't rule it out or make the referee go and check it in the replays. So I was glad of that as well, to be honest. I was just glad that we got that. Glad that Salah scored, because I had some question marks about that as well. When I saw McAllister have the ball, I was like hoping actually, he might take it, but Salah stepped up and, he scored when Liverpool really needed it, and I think that was really important. But overall, like I said, it is just a bitterly disappointing game, because Liverpool dominated the first half. So many opportunities. I think some of them were brilliant saves from Onana, as well. You've got to give him credit. He made some good saves, especially I think the first chance that Dominic Szoboszlai had, which was with Szoboszlai's left foot, and he did make, which is his wrong foot, by the way, but he did make a good effort, and Onana's stop with his hand was brilliant. I think the second Szoboszlai chance, the less said about it, the better. I think it was a little bit behind him in his defence, but he should have done better. He should have got it on target at least. Then obviously, Nunez chance, I think we made Onana's day at times quite easy for him as well with some of the shots. And then we'll get into the stats. But yeah, those were my initial feelings. Just the first half, we should have taken advantage of our opportunities. With the way the second half went, after the end of the game, I was just relieved to get a draw. And even now, I think I am relieved to get a draw because I can only imagine what the reaction would have been if we didn't get at least a point. I think, then I might have been a glass half empty kind of guy, but because we got that draw, I'm still very much glass half full.
Yeah, I think you're preaching to a tough crowd here, but we'll see. I mean, you're right. It's right to talk about stats because that's what we do. It does feel like, and it may seem like hollow words to certain people, but there were some positives. I mean, stats-wise, were there any sort of pass marks or anything that you sort of honed in on? You think, yeah, that's worth mentioning?
I thought McAllister was decent. I think I saw Who Scored post something about how he won possession in midfield. In the midfield third against United 11 times, which is a joint record in a Premier League game this season. So that's quite impressive. I think stats-wise, it's sort of important to talk about Jarrell Kwanzaa as well, because yes, he made that error and it was sort of stupid pass to make. I'm sure he will never do it again, and he will learn from it. But I do think, overall, his performance before that mistake and after that mistake, which I think is the more impressive part, the fact that the way he performed after the mistake was really good. Obviously played a little bit of a role in the build-up for Elliott winning the penalty. But yeah, overall, he had the most touches in the game, completed the most passes, second most recoveries for Liverpool, won 2 out of 2 tackles, won 4 out of 6 duels, which was actually one of the highest percentage of dual success rate for Liverpool players. We'll touch on the duels situation because I think that was where Liverpool went wrong. But Kwanzaa actually was one of those who did all right in that regard. So yeah, for me, he's someone worth mentioning because I think the mainstream narrative will be, it's so easy to just highlight that error and, let that error define his game, his performance, or even his whole career so far. But the reality is he was actually quite decent and he dealt with the error really well. I dare I say, I'm not even sure Steven Gerrard dealt with his error against Chelsea as well as Kwanzaa did. And obviously the 2 different games of different magnitude, but I just wanted to sort of say, even a mature player would have, I think, struggled, but it was credit to Kwanzaa that he sort of just put his head up and got on with it, and in the end played his part in Liverpool's second goal.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Definitely didn't crumble, showed his character that way as well, and yeah, we'll have to touch on the midfield because it did feel like McAllister's the only real one that, for me, came around with pass marks, or you think would be maybe happy with their performance is the wrong phrase, but you sort of looked at and thought, yeah, okay, they can leave the field there with something. I mean, the ultimate underlying word, and you've heard this many a time, and it's natural and it's totally understandable as well, wastefulness. That's pretty much defined yesterday. And it almost feels like, I won't say get lucky, but it felt the same against Brighton. It felt the same against Sheffield. It just seems to have been a recent pattern, especially we seem quite wasteful. I mean, I'm guessing the stats look pretty bad in this in terms of the wastefulness.
Yeah, I mean, I think the XG was 3.87 or 67, sorry, which is quite high in comparison to, what Liverpool amounted to scoring, especially the fact that one of those was a penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 28 shots as well. Lots of chances created. I think the interesting stat that I found was from open play, the front three had 16 shots,
Wow.
and only four of those were on target from open play.
Wow.
Yeah, Diaz got two, and Salah got two, and Nunez didn't get a single shot on target in this game. So that is, I think, a really poor effort. Normally, I think you excuse missing chances and stuff, but to miss that many chances at such high volume and not even get them on target, I think is the sort of bigger issue. I think versus Sheffield, I think it was a different sort of story. Like Liverpool didn't create as much. The XG was only 1.87. So obviously Liverpool overperformed in that game, and I think it will have a lot to do with McAllister's goal, which was sublime. But I think in that one, Liverpool only created two big chances as well. So we were kind of lacking for creativity. Against Brighton as well, it was only 2.83 XG, which is that's something that you can sort of excuse underperforming by that small of a margin. Two big chances missed as well. Again, that's something like it's not the end of the world. But yeah, overall, I think this game in particular, really, that there were some really poor misses and some poor decisions in the final third as well. Like even just the Nunez chance, I thought if you just cut it back to Dominic Szoboszlai, that's an open goal. And I mean, fingers crossed. Based on the chances he missed, he might have missed that one as well. But fingers crossed, knowing if he was on his A game, I think he probably would have scored. I think Szoboszlai as well. I thought he did okay overall, but when he got to in and around the penalty area, there were times when I think he should have made up his mind maybe a little bit sooner. Got a shot on. I feel like at times it feels almost like he has too much respect for his teammates. Like he's always trying to lay off that final pass, which is something like I've never really sort of seen in his game. I don't know if it's like coach instructions or, teammates influencing his decision making, especially Salah. Like we know Salah is, I think McAllister said after the Brighton game that Salah is sort of always demanding the midfielders to pass to him. So I don't know, maybe that sort of had an influence or an effect on his decision making, but I would sort of like to see him do what he does for Hungary or do what he did for Leipzig and just take some shots because he can score. Like I've spoken to, I think, two goalkeepers now, one from the national team and one from Liverpool, and they've both said the toughest shot they faced in training was his. So I think he needs to utilize that ability a lot more at Liverpool, and I'm sure they will analyze his game and they will look at that sort of area where he needs to improve.
Yeah, we'll be interested. We'll come on to Szoboszlai shortly because then that's probably a good discussion to have. I mean, that's scary. 4 out of 16 shots in open play. I mean, it's great they're getting 16 shots, but those forwards could really have picked a worse day. I mean, it's strange even we're talking about this. Diaz scores, that's a good goal. Salah gets a penalty, but obviously the penalty's not in open play as well. So you start looking, you're thinking you think back to those chances as well. Nunez is the worst. There's no two ways about it. You can't dress it up. That's an abysmal miss. There's no two ways about it. But even then you start thinking, I'll probably say for that Diaz chance late on from Robertson's knockdown, he was stretching and leaning back a little bit. So I think that's mitigation. But that close to the goal, you are thinking come on, just get, Salah as well. I mean, that one in the first half on his left foot as well. You normally expect at least the keeper work till the net to ripple. And even in the second half, I know people are going to say it was on his right foot, but when it bounces back to him, just you expect him with Onana's on the floor, just steer it in, really. It was yeah. And then we also talked about wastefulness. As you mentioned last time, Salah against Brighton, 12 shots for his goal as well. The forwards really couldn't have picked a worse time to become wasteful. And hopefully, I'm saying hopefully, and maybe people will start thinking about Diogo Jota coming back. That will change sharpish because, yeah, if it carries on, I think we'll be struggling to keep that glass half full, put it that way. And I tell you what, we've got to speak about this then, because we were interacting on Twitter last night, weren't we? You tweeted about Dominic Szoboszlai. I replied with my thoughts. And all of a sudden, I was among Hungary's most wanted, wasn't I, realistically, judging by
You made Hungarian news. I sent it to you.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely insane on the back of the tweet how you can be a Hungarian national threat all of a sudden. But, I mean, the Szoboszlai situation, I'll tell you what, in terms of fairness, because there should always be a prosecution or defence in any case, Ben, as we know, I'll let you tee this up about your thoughts about the tweet, how you saw it, because it was your tweet, to be fair, that started it. So I'll let you go first.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Yeah, I mean, I already said I don't think he made the best decisions in and around the penalty area, but I thought overall he sort of created 4 chances. If Onana doesn't pull off an amazing save, he gets the goal. You know, that some of the chances that created, I think one for Salah in particular, like if Salah had his shooting boots on, he gets an assist, and you know, very easily we could be talking about a superb performance from him. So it is fine margins.
Yeah.
Like I said, he created the most chances in the game alongside Robertson before. I think as well, he only misplaced 5 passes, which was I think not the worst return from Liverpool's midfielders or anyone, especially because if you sort of look at his pass map, a lot of his passes were going forward into sort of dangerous territories where you're more likely to give passes away. So the fact that he only gave away 5 passes isn't that bad. I think he also completed the most passes in the opposition's final third with 25 out of Liverpool's players. So again, those are not bad statistics at all. And I think, yes, he didn't win a lot of his duels, but there was a lot of sort of interceptions or times when he was tracking back to win the ball, which were really important. So sort of his off the ball movement was really crucial, I think, at times for Liverpool. And I think we saw it when the game he was subbed off. The game sort of changed and shifted, and I thought United had more joy going forward than before. And I think that partly had to do with, I think, Szoboszlai just not being on the pitch. We said the same thing when he went off against United in the FA Cup. I think his energy, just his presence, even if he's not winning duels or anything, is sort of really important. And I think there's no coincidence that what hurt Liverpool in the end was the fact that Mainu was given so much space inside our penalty area and none of our midfielders closed him down fast enough. Obviously, you said it yourself, it might be a bit of a stretch, but I don't know if Szoboszlai's on the pitch. Manu scores that goal or has that much time to get that shot off. And I think it's what we talk about, sort of holding midfielders being unappreciated. Like, their work doesn't get noticed until they're not on the pitch. I think it's a sort of similar case with Szoboszlai. Like, I don't think his defensive work actually gets enough attention until he goes off the pitch.
Who loves Aunt Millie's bread? Commuters who are running late and the cops that pull them over. Tired parents who live for nap time and energetic kiddos who don't. Early birds and night owls, teachers' pets and daydreamers. The home team and their fans that know this is our year. And anyone who loves the freshest bread delivered daily to Columbus's favorite grocers. Because no matter where life takes you, Aunt Millie's brings you closer to home.
It's an interesting one. It really is. I mean, because I'm sure most people might have seen it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I responded that it was interesting because I didn't think he was great in this. But in terms of, we're not 12 years old, so we don't work in terms of good or bad people. It's not like there is an indistinct line, isn't there, as it were? I mean, things for me, Dominic Szoboszlai, yeah, I agree with that. Brings energy to the midfield, going both ways, has an overall impact. The things that I would say is their first save from their keeper is a good one. It is a good one, to be fair, from Onana. Outstretched hand, isn't it? Well, don't want to give him too much credit, but a bit Alisson-esque, didn't it? When he comes out. And so I don't really have a go at him for that. That's just one of those. It's good shot, good save on his left foot, and you move on. The miss is bad. The miss is really, I know it's a little bit behind him, and I get that, but it's a bad miss. It's almost weird, isn't it? It's the Núñez is the worst miss. I think that's fair to say. For me, Szoboszlai comes in second there. You really expect, and he's also coming on his right foot, coming across it. And Onana's already shifting that way, so he's got a portion of the net, as we know, Ben, just to hit. You think he can just tap it in, and he kind of almost like tops it with the bottom of his boot, doesn't he? And it sort of rolls, that awkwardness. So I think that was a bad miss. The thing about his duels, and listen, he wasn't the only one. I mean, Liverpool's midfielders contested 24 duels, 24. And they won 8 of them. Third. That's really bad. That's not really good at all. You can't really dress it up another way. And quite often, you saw the mess United were making of their midfield. So it tended to be Mainu and Casemiro. So that, we should really 3-on-2, but especially just what you want certain people in there. And especially, and a bit of Szoboszlai's defence, that's what Endo's in there to do a lot of the time, especially Old Trafford, isn't it? Win his duels, and it's the second game he's not. But if you take out the fact that McAllister won 5 out of 10, Ben.
Hello there. Have you ever found yourself getting ready to watch the Liverpool match? You've got your mates round, you've got your drinks, you've got your snacks, you're all set to go. It's going to be a good day. And then you find out, the game's not actually being broadcast in your region. There's the heartbreak, there's rage, there's despair, there's fury, you're upset, you're looking for a solution. Well, we've teamed up with NordVPN to bring you a game-changing solution. That's right. With NordVPN, you can switch your virtual location to a country where the game's on live. It's like having a global ticket to sports, TV shows, and movies from all around the world. And here's the best part. If you go to nordvpn.com/Anfield Index, you'll score the best discount on your NordVPN plan. Plus, our link gives you 4 extra months free on the 2-year plan. And that's what we call a winning streak. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, what if it's not for me? What if I don't like it? What if I'm not getting the use of it? Don't worry about it. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's totally risk-free. I've been using NordVPN to catch all the Liverpool matches and TV shows that I'd normally miss out on. It's totally transformed both my weekends and my TV watching. And not only that, not only does it give me access to stuff from all around the world with the click of a button, it keeps all my data safe. It means that the miscreants, the ne'er-do-wells, what my grandmother would have called scallywags, who lurk on the internet to try and steal your information, can't get your information NordVPN keeps it safe for you. So don't let geo-restrictions bench you this season. Visit nordvpn.com/Anfield Index and make sure that you're in the game, no matter when or where it's being played. Remember, it's not just sports, it's your all-access pass to binge-worthy TV shows and blockbuster movies from all around the globe. NordVPN literally unlocks the world for you and keeps you safe from the world. So don't miss out. Head over to nordvpn.com/Anfield Index and let the fun and games begin.
That means that Endo and Szoboszlai combined won 3 out of 14. I mean, that's not far off. Like, you know,
Szoboszlai won one of those, right?
Yeah.
I think he contested 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And
which is not good, which is not great.
I think, in all fairness, a lot of the duels were offensive duels rather than defensive ones. So it was him being dispossessed or tackled by United players.
That was the key thing I was seeing. And listen, when we're saying this, people need to be clear. Just because one person, it's not like one's good, everyone's bad. That's not how it works. A lot of people, unfortunately, were coughing up possession at the key times. But yeah, he did start to lose possession. I think the one thing that distorts it is Curtis Jones came on and Harvey Elliott came on at the same time, didn't they? And Szoboszlai came up. And I got that. I thought, yeah, Curtis Jones, a bit more robust, you know, Genie-esque, but it wasn't great for Curtis either, to be honest. So he kind of felt that trend. Harvey was a great sub. But I understood completely why that substitution was there. And it's great that you say he gets end-to-end. I think the biggest thing I would say about Szoboszlai, though, is when we broke, and especially when we attacked, he had the ball quite often. And I thought that would be part of it. And being honest, that people would say, oh, his pass completion was good. It wasn't that he didn't find the person, but a lot of his passes, Ben, they were just that little bit behind, or they weren't the right way, or they weren't always the right pass selection, if that makes sense.
That's the thing that I sort of mentioned. It's his decision making. At times it feels like he is caught in two ideas. He's caught in this idea like, oh, I'm a Liverpool player. I've got Mohamed Salah ahead of me. I should be feeding balls through to him. Whereas, and then the other mind is, I'm Hungary's biggest star. For Hungary, I'm taking on these shots and scoring. And it's almost like he can't make up his mind which one he wants to be at Liverpool. And I think he's got to choose. He should be the star player. And that's what, that's why Liverpool paid so much money for him. That's why Liverpool paid £60 million, because they know his star quality. I don't know if it's maybe instructions from the coaches to say he should be making passes, but if it is, then he should be making those passes earlier. And if it's something in his sort of mind, then he's just got to make up his mind quicker. And I think, I know it's a different step up from Premier League to Bundesliga. He spoke about it. You have less time to make those decisions, but he's good enough to make them well, and he's good enough to make those decisions. And I think he will look at it himself, and he'll be disappointed with some of the stuff that he did. And I think it was I think it's been the case against Brighton and Sheffield as well recently. Like he's come off a really good international break with Hungary, where he was running the game, both games, and then he comes into the Brighton game, into the Sheffield game, and there are times when he doesn't quite make that final pass, or he sort of dilly-dallies a little bit on the ball. And I think that's where he definitely has to improve. But for me, the defensive side of the game and the pressing side of the game, for that, he's so important for Liverpool to keep that engine, to keep Jurgen Klopp's system ticking. So I think for me, that's why I just think he should stay on the pitch, because without him, we saw, I think, United had a lot more fun in their offensive transitions than when he was on the pitch. But yeah, overall, I think the fact that United won 60 duels and we only won, I think, 42 or 48 is a really bad stat. I think. I know they sat back, so it's easier to win duels when you're defending, but in reality, at the end of the day, Liverpool should have been cleverer and should have done a lot better. So yeah, I don't think it was a great game for anyone. We won't really remember it as a classic. I'm sure United will, especially if we don't win the title, but I hope that won't be the case. And I don't know, I think for Szoboszlai, it's just a case of just being a little bit wiser.
Yeah, I don't think anyone doubts Dominic Szoboszlai's ability or his potential. I think it's just the decision making out. And I'm not sure it's. I think about coach. I just think a bit of confidence, a little bit as well. That bit of assurity. I think that's they'll be trying to sort of impart that on him, because I think, like you said, ultimately he gets in those positions. But I think if Liverpool fans are honest right now, there's more belief, if that's the right word, in that Alexis McAllister will make the right pass in those decisions. And we talk about what Szoboszlai can do with his shooting and bits. So can McAllister. McAllister's played some brilliant passes recently and can, if we're talking about shooting, someone burst the back of the net against Sheffield United, didn't they, in that top corner the other night? It almost just feels like maybe if Szoboszlai really sort of starts to believe and goes from there. But yeah,
I've got to point out, like against Brighton, McAllister doesn't make that pass if Szoboszlai doesn't brilliantly find it.
Great link. There's no
he does have that in him, and he has made it. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I think I don't ever see him as someone who's lacking confidence. So I just think sometimes it's just maybe he's giving a bit too much respect to his teammates when he knows he can take it on himself. I know, like at Leipzig, all his teammates were always telling him to shoot. He's kind of one of those. He's like, he's been brought up in the Red Bull system. He's a team player first and foremost. And if you're a team player, you're always sort of looking to make a pass or that kind of stuff. But at the same time, he's got this brilliant individual quality, this shooting ability, this finishing ability. And I think it's that duality in terms of, that he needs to sort out in his head. He doesn't always have to be a team player, and he can be individually brilliant. I think that's why in the national team, like he knows he's the star, and he knows his teammates won't complain, they won't moan if he takes a shot and it doesn't go in. Whereas I think at Liverpool there's such high competition for those sort of free kicks, for everything, and I think sometimes he needs to sort of grow into his role and become more of a leader. But that's difficult when there's so many others, fighting and around you. Like it's just that I think it's just also a natural process when you're coming into a new team, especially as a young player. Like he's still only 23. I think with time, when he gets more seniority and if he continues to perform, then he'll have that side of his game and he'll get better. I just think right now he does need to improve in that area.
Definitely needs to improve. And listen, I love the passion. I love the Hungarian togetherness and all that, etc. I love all that. I think it's always good to defend or have players that way. At the same time, if we're going to talk about talent in this Liverpool team, Christ, there's players that can do it all. So yeah, Szoboszlai's got to prove he can get to that level, and I really hope he does. But yeah, I would know. It's one of those. It's not good. It's not bad, and we could debate this all night, ladies and gents. But yeah, hopefully by the time we get to the end of the season, we are talking about something very, very different. Off the field, Ben, a bit different this time, because off the field is, we'll talk about injuries and we'll talk about the manager situation's always going to come up. I mean, Ruben Amorim just literally is mentioned nearly every day in some format, isn't he, really? I think it's fair to say now, I mean, I had a quick scan before we came on thinking, is this like when you're looking for red cards, so all you see is red cards? But actually, if you just look on social media and sites, there's no other name being mentioned at all, really, now. We went through that period of like Inzaghi could be one. Nagelsmann could be. Like, it all seems to be about Amorim. In fact, I'm sure as you've seen the reports, a lot of the Portuguese noise now tends to be about when, how long, the deal, the release, all these types of things. It very much seems to be going one way. One thing I did want to check, because everyone's sort of now feels invested a little bit on Ruben Amorim, but people were thinking about the Jude Bellingham, that we're thinking about Xabi Alonso and all this. We've talked about it at length, but just right now, how are Sporting getting on? Because I think it's for some who are maybe sceptical, if that's the right word. If it finishes strong this season, that will probably remove a few doubts for some, I think. How are they actually getting on right now?
Yeah, so last weekend they had the big sort of derby game against Benfica, which wasn't just a derby game, it was obviously a league title game. I think there was a point between them. Sporting obviously have a game in hand as well, but they really needed a win, and they got it for a 91st winner. In I think Katamo, who is the right back. He scored both goals. Very interesting. Like, he scored his first goal in the first minute, and then his second goal in the 91st minute, and it ended up being 2-1 to Sporting. That obviously puts them 4 points top of the table with a game in hand as well. So that's a huge advantage for them. It looks like Amorim is going to do it.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m, Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin DeVries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And I think the way he sort of managed that game was really impressive. The way he controlled everything. I saw him sort of instructing Hjulmand, the holding midfielder, to make more forward passes. The way he sort of, after Sporting scored in the 91st minute, he sort of, told his players to concentrate and, still make sure to keep it tight at the back. And I thought defensively Sporting put in a really good performance. Overall, I thought they deserved to win the game as well. So, if you watch that game, I think few would sort of complain with his appointment. And if you're looking at the league table now as well, you can't really argue against it. I mean, Sporting hadn't won a league title in 19 years, and they're about to win 2 in 4 years under him. So it's not a bad record. And obviously, they're in the Portuguese Cup final as well. I'm sure they would have loved to have gone through in the Europa League as well. That's where Atalanta sort of exposed them a little bit, for sure, in terms of the counter-attacks and stuff. Would have been interesting if they did get through, because then obviously they probably would have played Liverpool, given how the draw went. So that would have been very interesting. But now I think from our perspective as well, heading into Thursday, it's going to be interesting to see how we deal with Atalanta's threat, because they proved it against Sporting that they are really dangerous in counter-attacking transitions, and that seems to be our Achilles heel at the moment. Definitely was against Man United in the last 2 games we played against them. So I am interested to see how we get on there. I don't think it's going to be as easy as maybe some people expect it to be. I think, it's going to be a tough test, but hopefully we get through it. And if we do, it's going to be a good sort of reflection on how Amorim Sporting are. And, I think comparing those games and analysing those games, we'll be able to get a clearer picture of where Amorim is at in terms of his managerial prowess.
Will be interesting to see. Yeah, 4 points clear, game in hand, potential of a Portuguese double. I think that will be something for skeptics, like you say, potential to go 2 titles in 4 years there as well, having made it a big 3 when it never was. And interestingly enough, you talked about the Caetano, I think it was, the right back getting a 91st minute winner. And speaking of right backs, I mean, there's one that we want back, Sharpish. I think that's what a lot of people are sort of looking in the run-in. This could be absolutely vital. We want Trent Alexander-Arnold back, and we want Diogo Jota back as well. I mean, it seems interesting because I love Jota, just to be clear, for anyone who thinks I'm digging him in any way. But everyone keeps talking about these chances as though Diogo Jota never misses chances, or is like Ronaldo 9, the original, a reincarnated type of thing, as people have suggested. But, I mean, stats-wise, Ben, I can't help but think the 2 stats for these boys this season, Trent and Diogo, should have us really salivating the potential of them coming back just at the time we need them most.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Jota has always been quite prolific. I know he went like a year-ish without scoring, but he was like injured for most of that time. So I thought it was unfair to make a huge deal out of it. This season, though, he's been really prolific and he's really good at converting his chances. So I kind of looked at Premier League forwards with 1,000 minutes in the league this season. And for goal conversions, he ranks in 6th place with 25%, which is really good. That's above Erling Haaland, for example, who's only on 20%. Salah is on 18%, by the way, and Nunez is on 12.5%. So just to compare in terms of sort of Liverpool players as well, his conversion rate is really high. Obviously, he hasn't played as many minutes, but based on the sample size that we do have, it is quite encouraging, and he has proven to be very prolific in front of goal this season, which is what we have kind of lacked in the last few games. So to get that back, I think, will be really important for Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, that just as a pure stat, around Jota around 25 and Nunez about 12.5, I think you gave me there. So we're pretty much saying that Diogo Jota, for every 2 chances that Nunez gets, Diogo Jota should bury one, like that straight up double strike rate, realistically. I mean, Trent, I just get, I could be well wrong on this, but I get a gut feeling Trent, as much as people talk about Jota, and quite rightly, I love Jota, but I adore Trent. I really do. I think he's some generational footballer. I mean, his stats as well must be pretty sensational for this season.
Yeah, I mean, I know Conor Bradley has been brilliant, and don't get me wrong, I think he's a fantastic player, but like Trent is on another planet. That you can't compare them. And this season again, like you mentioned, he's producing generational numbers.
Yeah.
So in the Premier League, out of players who've played 1,000 minutes, no one averages more passes into the final third, more through passes, more passes to the penalty area, more progressive passes than him. That's like 4 massive sort of passing statistics that Trent ranks number 1 for. And he's been so important to everything that Liverpool have done this season. To have him back.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, We really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.